By baking adventures, it means she baked and I enjoyed the adventure.
You were there for moral
I was
support.
there for moral support. Hi, my name is Rachel. I play bassoon with the Pro Musica Chamber Orchestra.
Hi, my name's Jessica Smithorn, and I play oboe with the Pro Musica Chamber Orchestra.
And we are here to ask each other some questions to see how well we know each other.
So, Rachel, if you weren't a musician, what would you be?
Well, I'd be very sad, but as some people in Pro Musica know, during my not quite fully employed as a bassoonist days, I was working part-time at a wine and cheese shop and very active in both aspects of that side of the culinary arts. So I probably would have kept going with that and be eating and drinking very well, but also missing out on all this. So probably something in the food, wine, cheese industry.
And you make all of our lives way richer by having that kind of expertise.
It's a good party trick.
Yeah.
What's a non-music related skill or hobby that you have that people don't know about?
So in terms of like a skill that I have that people may not know about, I really love to bake. That is like one of my favorite things to just do on my own, but I also like to go hiking outside. I live in Chattanooga, and there's so many outdoor fun things to do in Chattanooga. What would be your dream artist collaboration?
Oh man. So I'm kind of a closeted Broadway fan. I'm not very ostentatious about it, but I'm a big musical theater and theater fan. And we've had a lot of like megawatt musical theater stars here, but one person I've always admired, not just for his humor, but for his intellect, is Stephen Colbert. And he's a huge theater fan too. I mean, studied theater at Northwestern, and he's a huge Sondheim fan. So I feel like having a chance to play Sondheim with him and his personality and his love for that repertoire would be kind of amazing, because then maybe we'd all get to have a whiskey after and pick his brain. And he's, you know, probably more available than he used to be going forward, so maybe for soiree. But yeah, Sondheim with Colbert would be a pretty awesome collaboration. Who is your favorite non-classical musical artist?
So I feel like since we spend so much time listening to music as part of our jobs, I tend to not listen to music when I'm not at work. Like, I tend to just go to my car and sit in silence and be with my thoughts a lot of the times. Or if I'm, exercising or going on a long drive, I'll listen to a lot of podcasts or listen to an audiobook. So my regular podcasts include The Daily from the New York Times, This American Life. My favorite audiobook is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern.
Oh, I'll have to put that on my driving rotation.
Yeah.
Always looking for recs. So Jessica, what is my favorite city to visit?
I would guess that your favorite city is Chicago, because that's where your family is, and it's just an amazing city with a lot of food scene and great arts, and just a bigger city than Columbus or Cincinnati.
Yeah, I can't really argue with that. I mean, I've been all over the world, but Chicago gives me butterflies still every time, so well played.
We were talking about how I love to bake as a hobby. Do you know what my favorite recipe to bake is?
Oh boy. Well, probably scones. You make that really yummy flatbread dough though, and as a savory person, it's my favorite recipe when you make that and top it with summer tomatoes or whatnot. But no, I don't. What's your favorite?
So that flatbread is really good, and I like making scones for other people, but I think my favorite recipe is actually a brown butter almond cake, and I don't know that I've ever made it for you.
Let's get on that.
Yeah.
See, good. I learned something new about you today. What's my favorite type of cuisine?
I think, given the number of Indian restaurants we go to whenever I come and visit you, that your favorite is Indian.
Yeah, probably, but honestly, I think if I had to choose, I might go with sushi over Indian, Japanese in general. So, but thankfully I don't have to choose. So,
let's talk about when we first met.
So we first met I'd been playing at the Shippensburg Festival, and I found out a new oboist who also lives in Cincinnati was coming. And I don't think we drove together, but we met there, and we walked to dinner together. And I had heard from our mutual friend you were going to be there, and I should meet you. And yeah, suddenly we're having all our meals together, playing together, and I'm like, you live in Cincinnati, why haven't we hung out before? So and that was 10 years ago? It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I think about 10 years ago.
I feel like we've played in like at least 5 or 6 different orchestras together since then.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Chamber, Cincinnati Symphony, here, Shippensburg. Where else have we played? Dayton Philharmonic. Yeah, we both get around the same.
All right, do you remember your first concert with Pro Musica and what really stood out to you when you played?
Yes. So Ellen, who's our principal bassoonist, had known me from many various things and had invited me in to play because they were needing the second bassoonist till they could have an audition. And we were doing Beethoven 3. And I remember, I think with David, we used to have 4-hour rehearsals once during that time. So we probably spent 8 hours rehearsing Beethoven 3 over the course of the week. I mean, it was nuts. And I remember feeling like, wow, every single detail we've discussed has been relevant to making us sound better. And we retained all of them. Like by the concert, every little articulation, every little dynamic, every little accent was right in place where we had discussed it. And I thought, I have never been less bored in terms of just the process of that much intensity of rehearsal. And I've never felt more secure in a concert in terms of a unified musical game plan. And it was the commitment of all the musicians on stage to that quote unquote game plan that just astounded me. The commitment here is incredible. And I'm glad they kept having me back.
I think my first concert was Beethoven 9.
Oh, wow.
So like that's great that our first concerts were both Beethoven symphonies.
I think we do Beethoven really well here. What composer is one of your favorites to perform and why?
So it's whatever composer I'm playing that week. I don't have a favorite, and I feel like David does a really great job of really selling us on whoever we're playing that week, whether it is, you know, a Schubert symphony and exploring the tiny details that we've never thought about in that Schubert symphony, or in a piece like Copland. We're really doing a deep dive, and it makes me love that composer that week even more.
That's a good answer. Yeah, I guess at Pro Musica, it's whatever we're playing. We always find a way to make it fun.
Do you have a favorite composer?
I mean, to play, so I always feel very fulfilled playing Brahms. I think it tests us musically, artistically, and emotionally on every level. But it's not fun to play. I mean, it really shines a spotlight on everything that is not quite perfect in what you're playing in a way few composers can. So you feel like you're in the ringer every single moment. Every single attack has to be precious. Every single chord has to be perfectly balanced. But the payoff is so extraordinary, and the winds are always so present, so you never feel like you're forcing. It's just such a rich part of the texture to be participating in. Do you have a pre-concert ritual?
Yes. So one of my oboe teachers insisted that, you know, if you didn't come to a concert or rehearsal, like he said an hour before, but I tend to arrive between 45 minutes and a half an hour before a concert or a rehearsal so that I can just be on stage in the space. And you know, as a double reed player, like most of it is just testing out your reeds in the space, making sure they sound good for the thing that you're about to do.
Before the trombones start blaring.
Before the trombones start blaring. When it's a little bit more quiet and you can hear how the tone is in this really beautiful space of the Southern Theater, and make sure that your tone is just as gorgeous as the space you perform in. So it's, you know, whittling with the reed knives on the reeds and playing some of the tricky passages that are coming up in the concert. How about you? You often join me early.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the same things for a lot of the same reason. There's no meditation or, listening to music to hype up or anything like that. Just making sure that I like how I sound. And I've really gotten into lately putting earphones into a drone on my phone, pitch that stays constant, I can play around it. And making sure I'm doing thirds or fourths in whatever key and that they sound really perfectly in tune with all the intervals that interact with that drone. I think it just sort of centers my sense of responsibility of my pitch and gives me, we're always listening and adjusting, but then I feel like I'm really grounded because that's so important, especially on second bassoon, but really anywhere in the wind section. If you're not really locked in pitch-wise, it can cause so much discomfort to the people around you, and you want to be pleasant and not causing discomfort. So a little bit of drone work to kind of get grounded has really helped.
What is a favorite memory with Pro Musica that comes to mind?
Well, an obvious answer is getting to play the Mozart Bassoon Concerto at our summer series. And I think the sun was just starting to set as I was playing the second movement, which is some of the most beautiful music ever written for the bassoon. And so looking out at this garden and the sea of people and the sun setting and playing this music that is so precious to me was pretty hard to top. I mean, we've had a lot of really fun get-togethers, and as one of the few people who still drives in, I tend to be the taxi. And there was, I think, some night where I'm driving David and 3 other musicians back to their hotels and homes, and everyone is just in a great mood. And somebody puts on this dance music, and the car, everybody starts dancing to it, and it just kind of perfectly encapsulated just the giddy sense of community that we all kind of share here on and off the stage. So I've got my musical answer and my fun answer, but both stand out.
I was thinking that in 2020, when we weren't sure that we were going to be able to perform anything at all, and we got the email saying, yeah, we're going to do a summer series, that first concert back where it was Rachael and Ilya and I playing reed trios, and we rehearsed outside for several hours in the August heat, and then we had the concert at the Fives indoors, but with all of the big garage windows being raised. That first concert back, after not knowing if we would ever be able to make music again for a while, was really, really powerful.
That was a really, really special day.
And to be able to play it with such great colleagues and good friends made it even more meaningful.
You never take it for granted ever again.
No.
Oh boy, I'm gonna have. What is your favorite thing about our friendship?
Aw. So I think you're one of my best friends, Rachael.
Same.
And what I really value about you is that you are such a thoughtful person, and you really listen to me. You listen in the ensemble too, and make sure that you're responding really well and thoughtfully to what people are saying to you.
That's really sweet. Thank you. I think, honestly, my favorite thing about our friendship is how open and honest and well you listen too. I mean, I feel like we call each other all the time. If we're taking walks, if we're driving to a random gig, even different places. And I just feel like we can share a sense of the same joys, the same struggles, the same just day-to-day things that make us human. And I feel like we really connect on all those levels, and we both have an endless willingness to talk and listen and share, and that really is hard to find and very special. Mm-hmm.